Audio. Oh, hey, thanks, Patrick. All right, now we got it. Um, we wouldn't have a good show without a hiccup. So, this is not the normal Tuesday night live stream. Unfortunately, I'm figuring out whether we're going to do it on Monday nights, or Tuesday nights, or not Tuesday, or Wednesday nights every third week. But I'm excited to be here this evening with you guys. We have a really great guest on, and I kind of just wanted to hit on a couple things before I bring him in. First, I wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight and hanging out with us for a little while. I want to thank a couple supporters that have been really great folks. Jersey History Hunters, they were really gracious in our last giveaway. We had a little bit of a mix-up, and they were really cool about everything. So I urge everybody to go out and check out Jersey History Hunters. The other two folks I want to kind of give a little plug for are Plugmaster Ford and Diggin with 7 and Tennessee Jeff. Those guys have been incredible. They've really helped me out with this whole live stream and everything. So looks like the chat room's going good. I'm really excited about that. Ralph McGee's in the house. John Aiken's in the house. What's up, John? Michael Blackwell. Coin collecting with Eric. So we got a good stream going. So without further ado, I wanted to bring you guys in. What's up, Mike Campbell? So tonight I have Bruce Adwell, Virginia Diggers. A lot of the guys in the chat know Bruce, but for those that don't, Bruce is a long-time artifact collector, seeker, and pretty much lover of all kinds of history. He's been doing it for a long time, so we'll go ahead and bring him in and see how everything's. Oh, there we go. Jerry's in the house. What's up, Bruce? How you doing this evening?
Doing good.
Awesome. So kind of playing you up a little bit. Me and Bruce are good friends. We dig a lot together. A lot of people know that, but I always like talking to people who have such a passion like Bruce has. So just real quick, just a little bit of history, man. Like when did you start digging? Who introduced you into the hobby? All of that, start from the beginning.
Yeah, sure. I've been digging since I was 12 years old. It kind of started. My grandmother was always into antiques and had a house full of old stuff, and I always was fascinated by it. So across the street from her house was an old farm that was abandoned, and I went over there and actually found the trash dump and started digging in that. Found a bunch of turn of the century bottles, and it was stuff I'd never seen before, and I was hooked from then on. So it went from that to dump digging into cities, and dug in Richmond a lot, dug into a lot of the turn of the century dumps, and then met some guys who were Privy diggers, and they turned me into that. And once I started digging the early stuff, then I really didn't want to dig the turn of the century stuff anymore. So
yeah,
it was something to be said of that, and then I guess.
And explain for people who don't know what you consider early to be.
Anything, I mean, the privies in Richmond, when you get into that, they were filled in by the Civil War. So anything pre-Civil War, I would prefer to dig 18th century stuff if I could all the time, but that's harder to find.
Right. So, so you started when you were 12. When did you move, like, at your grandma's house and looking through dumps? You said, moving in the cities, like you're like your mid 20s doing this all the way into your 30s, and like
Yeah, I probably did that until and dug dumps until I was in my 20s, and then started digging privies when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of the dump digging stuff was when I was in high school, and really wasn't cool back then. I'm in 10th, 11th, 12th grade when you're supposed to be cool, and there's Bruce out there behind my house digging in the dump.
I don't know. It's a cool story to look back on now. Probably a lot of other
It's
things
cool
are cool.
now, but it wasn't so cool at the time. Everybody, driving down the road trying to impress girls, and they're all dressed up, and here I come with nasty dirt from head to toe walking down the road. I got some strange looks.
So, and I guess probably over the years, I mean that was trial and error learning, right? Until you got into hunting.
It was, yeah. There really wasn't anybody in my neighborhood who did it. I mean, I eventually found had a cousin that did a lot of digging with me when I was young, and a good friend who I'm still friends with today, and is actually one of the members of Virginia Diggers, Chris Tuck. We grew up together and dug a lot of bottles and stuff. It was a good part of our childhood, and looking back on it, it was a great thing. And as people often say, it kept us from getting in a lot of trouble.
Right, right. You still get in trouble. I mean, no
That's
matter
what
what you're going to do.
It didn't keep us out of trouble, but it kept us from getting in a lot of trouble.
So, and I mean, I know personally, but like you've dug privies pretty much anywhere you can think of, right?
Up and down the East Coast, I have. It's hard to dig them local, and the thing with the privy is it has to be in a city.
Right.
If you get out, and a lot of people contact me a bunch about digging privies and want me to come and help them find and dig a privy for a rural house. Well, the issue with that is they didn't throw anything in the privy. If you were in the city and you threw your trash in the privy, somebody came along, you had a privy dipper who cleaned it out and hauled the trash away. If you were in the country and you did that, you had to dig another privy.
Right. Yeah.
So they just didn't put anything in them.
Yeah, I mean if we, most of the relic hunting stuff we do isn't really that difficult to figure it out. You would have thought about the amount of work you would have done in the, say, mid 1800s. You wouldn't have want to gone and dug a new outhouse every 3 months because you filled it up with garbage when you could go into the ravine and just dump it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and getting into, now you're into the cities, digging into the privies there, like the different constructions, I mean, what's the difference from, have you ever been as far south as like Charleston or done any of those privies down there?
I haven't. There's a lot of privies were dug down there. Most of them were dug years ago. They're still digging some now. I dug one down there, Matt, and it was very similar to what you'd find in Richmond, which was a lot of the privies in Richmond were brick lined, and they were square. So you've got a square brick line structure. There were some in Richmond, and I'm sure that this follows for the rest of the South. There and it goes for Petersburg too. You'd have some that were wood lined, and wood line and brick line squares are basically what you've got that I've seen in most of the South.
Right.
Now, you start traveling north of Richmond, let's say Alexandria and Philadelphia are two big cities that have predominantly round privies. Mm-hmm. And they're brick lined and they're deep. The average one in Alexandria is somewhere 12 foot is the shallowest I've seen, and 30 foot's the deepest I've seen.
Yeah, if you guys check him out on Virginia Diggers, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but he's got some incredible pictures where he looks like a little ant in the bottom of a hole. So moving north, what's the farthest north you've ever dug one?
Philly.
Yeah.
Or Canton, which is a little bit further north, right across the river from Philly. That's about as far as I've been north.
Right.
Just would go further if I had the opportunity. That's just the furthest. Philadelphia is a great place to dig, and of course in Philadelphia, it's you can get into some earlier stuff that you're going to have a hard time getting into in a lot of other cities because of the age.
Right. All right. So Jerry says, and getting into trouble. You ever get in any trouble doing this stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, We were, yeah, we've gotten in our share of trouble. Usually, most of the time, then I'm a pretty good talker, so I've been able to talk my way out of it. Knock on wood, every time. But there's been some really close calls. We've run into the law several times, and most of the time that they think it's neat. And when it comes down to whether they're going to press charges or not, it falls on the police officer to make that decision. And a lot of times they don't want to prosecute us because
Right.
they think it's interesting.
Permissions that you thought were permissions that turned out were gray one way or the other.
Yeah, that happened a lot. I had a friend who was always kind of doing that. He'd get a permission and he would do just about anything to get a permission. So, we're digging a privy in someone's yard, and then they come out and ask us a question, uh, then the question kind of blows us away because it's not something we would have said, but that's how we got in the yard to begin with. So that
Right.
gets.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. So moving from the privies, how long ago was it that you really started adding a metal detector into regularly digging?
I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
and yeah, it would have been in the 90s is when I really started relic hunting. And at that time, I was working at a golf course in the same county I live in now, Hanover, and my accountant was a big time relic hunter. Had been hunting, he started hunting with a Metrotech back in the early days. Hunted, a lot of the good spots back in the 70s when you could get on anywhere. And they found just a ton of stuff with back then inferior equipment. There was just that much to be found. Well, he showed me a lot of this stuff and told me a little background story about the area where we were working and where I lived. And he said, if you something you are interested in, he said, I've got an extra Nautilus metal detector. So he gave me his old Nautilus and gave me a little bit of information and sent me on my way. And I knew a lot of people in the area, so I had permission to go a lot of places and jumped out the truck. And I think I went 10 yards and dug a horseshoe, and then two more steps and dug four drop three ringers right there beside the horseshoe, and I was hooked.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, one good target. I mean, I think that was my first day. I dug a round ball in my parents' yard, and I thought I found a gold mine. I mean,
It was to you, and it was to me anyway. That was just incredible to go out there and have never done it before and actually, find something. And
yeah.
that led us into, I found I guess it was probably my third time hunting. I found an undug cam,
Oh wow.
and it was incredible. And we dug relics. My first couple of months, I dug a ton of relics. A lot of them, I think I ended up throwing in the trash because I thought they were junk. And come to find out, they were all relics.
Yeah, you just didn't know any better.
No, I had no idea what I was finding.
Um, the So I'm adjusting our audio as we go a little bit. But the Earl from Virginia asked, "Do you guys ever shore up your privy holes, or you just trust there's not a collapse?"
That's a good question. It kind of depends on the hole. No, we don't shore them up. Most of the areas where I've dug, it's solid ground. If it's a wood line privy, I'm okay going down into a certain point. We always check the conditions of the privy. If it's sketchy, we won't dig it. If I'm in a brick line privy, I feel 100% safe. I don't think it could collapse. I've dug, probably 500, and I've never seen. And I've got friends who've dug, between the friends that I have, they've dug 10,000
Yeah,
and never had one. You can't pull a brick out of the wall. You have to
right,
start from the top and pull them down that way. You can't pull one out.
right. Um, so so the another somebody asked, "What's better, Richmond or Petersburg?"
As far as
I I guess as far as privies or bottles. Tell a little bit about the history of Petersburg. Petersburg got running water pretty early, right? They were pretty.
There, Petersburg that had running water. It was actually the first sewage system in the United States was in Petersburg, and that happened in the 1820s. And we were digging in Petersburg about 2 years ago, and actually found a part of that early rock line sewer system.
Wow.
It was gravity fed, and so yeah, you had that. In Richmond's better to answer that question. Richmond has better privies. The ones that I've dug in Petersburg were marginal, and I know a lot of people who have dug them in, outside. Before I started, they dug them, and there were a few good ones in Petersburg, but not many.
Really?
The
Yeah.
problem that you get into in the older part of Petersburg is that the water table is high.
Right.
So they're 4 or 5 foot deep, and they're dip clean.
Yeah, easy to clean out. So I just want to give a shout out to a couple people. We got Plugmaster Ford, Earl from Virginia, History Resurfaced. We got a blank in your screen. There we go.
Yeah, I had
Not,
all
not,
of sorry.
no, you're good. 925er. Um, Adventures in History, Tennessee Adventures are all in the house. Longest Hal. What's up, buddy? So moving into if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them out, and we'll try to field them as we go. I personally met you, and we had talked a bunch on the internet between wanting to go dig places in Ashland or wherever we could think of to go dig a privy, because it's always been one of my dreams to go dig one. But I guess we first met a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
That's right. Yeah,
Um,
probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I had the privilege to go to DIV, which I'm absolutely stoked that we're going to have the opportunity to go to Diggin in Virginia again, which is for anybody who's watching doesn't know, it's an organized relic hunt and kind of, I would say, a little bit western. It's the winter camps of the Civil War in Virginia. It's mineralized soil. It's really it's tough for a normal VLF machine like a Nautilus or an E-Track or even an AT Pro. But there's a lot of good relics and a lot of bottles to be found in there. I think Bruce has got a little camera issue. We're gonna work through that. So Mike was talking about privies in plantation settings or more in cities. So Bruce was kind of hitting on that a few minutes ago while he works on his camera about the fact that in a plantation, and I guess maybe he can even talk about some of the earlier ones like mittens. Oh,
We're back.
there you are. All right, there you go. So Mike Campbell was asking about privies in plantation settings, and what I've ever heard you call them as mittens, right?
Middens, yeah, and that's right, and that's good. I mean, I wouldn't target a 1800s house in an urban setting, but plantations are completely different. And they dug a big hole and dumped all of their trash in that, and normally they're probably 4 or 5 foot deep, and you could have a ton of early relics in those. So yeah, I would definitely target those.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that's where a lot of guys are finding stuff. What I was going to segue into is, what you currently relic hunt with now. The Deus, and I know you hunt with the GPX when we go to Culpeper.
That's right. Yeah, the Deus, and I mean that was a long progression getting there. Should have probably had that machine a long time ago. My friends, I had several friends, and we'd go out, and the guys who had the Deuses would always out hunt me. Ralph McGee is kind of the one of the ones that convinced me in the end that I had to have one. And I asked him to do that. Like I said, Ralph, I'm going to take you to a spot, and I want you to show me why I should have one. And he sure enough did.
The so and in between the Nautilus, I mean, you had I know you had a T2 for a while. What else did you have in there?
Yeah, I had a T2, and before that, I had the Nautilus, and I also had, from years ago, I had a Tesoro too. Which I mean, I found a lot of relics with that machine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's the Deus is nice because it'll do things that other machines won't. If you've got a great spot, I think you could find relics with any relic detector.
Right. Well, I'm a firm believer that it's 80% the user who's swinging the machine, 10% the site, and 10% luck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I might put a little bit more favor into the
Spot.
into the spot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we've learned that pretty hard this summer as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Uh, so transitioning into some of the organized hunts, I think the first time we kind of got to really hang out was around, I think you were when we went to the cabin, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I was in a different hunt than y'all were in, if I'm not mistaken on that one.
Yeah,
Or was
absolutely. I
that?
think what hunt
Yeah,
was that?
I was. Y'all were in the JG. I was in the JGD hunt at
Was Kelly's Ford?
Kelly's Ford. That's exactly right. And y'all were digging at Ratchery.
That's right. That's right. So Kelly's Ford, big Ford Union Winter Camp, and you were able to go and take the GPX and dig some pits, right?
Dug three that weekend and had a really good time. I don't know that there were that many found, but I was fortunate enough to find three of them there and dug some good bottles and a lot of relics. It was a good time.
I think you even gave away a pit, didn't you?
I did towards the end. I don't know, Matt, that I could have dug four pits there. It was my first experience with digging blackjack, and that's the nastiest dirt that I've ever dug in, and I don't care ever to dig in it again.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
dig one scoop, and then you spend 5 minutes with your tool getting all the mud off of it.
Yeah.
And it was just a bear. So after digging three pits in that by myself, I didn't care for a fourth.
Yeah. I absolutely wear you out. The I mean, so now we have this winter coming up. We have a good 3-day hunt in Culpeper, which I'm really excited about.
Me
Hopefully
too.
that we get into a nice pit there. I'm really looking forward to that. But right now, History Resurfaced wants to talk about a little bit of water hunting. Uh, and it's interesting. So for me personally, I tried really hard to find relics last year, and I tried in some unorthodox places that we haven't personally been. Less thought of bodies of water and stuff like that. And I did okay. I won't say I did great, but I mean, I found one really huge relic. I found a millstone that was 250 pounds. My buddy Jamie Henley helped me get it out. But this year we've been really hammering on the water. So you want to talk about that? I mean, did you try to
Yeah,
hunt last year?
I think Matt, I might have went. Once
I think me and
or
you went
twice.
once in the fall.
I think so, and that was probably the only time that I went. So this year has really been my first year of really dedicating the summer to water hunting, and it's been one of the best summers I've had since I started the hobby.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's incredible where it's taken us between for a lot of guys that don't know, me and Bruce hunt a lot together in the water. with our good friend Ralph McGee, who's somewhere in Wisconsin, drinking cheap beer and eating way too much cheese. So he may not be water hunting for the rest of the summer. Um, but uh, so it says, are you willing? Mainly riverbeds and types that hold relics.
That's a good question. That's something, Matt, that you and I talk about all the time. You can have the best spot in the world and the wrong bottom, and you can't find the relics.
Right. And what History Resurfaced is talking about is he says he struggles to find a good location, but the bottom sucks. I think we're the other way around. We find great locations, but you're in 8 foot of mud.
Yeah.
You know?
We don't hunt those, Matt.
No, well, I jump off the boat and you guys pull me out.
That's right. That's right. You can't
Yeah.
hunt it. So you've got to have the right bottom. We found that the mud is not a big deal. It can actually be good as long as under that mud you have a rock hard bottom within 8 inches.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And on the adverse side, if you have a rock hard bottom, everything will sit on the top. And if it's in a spot with good relics, there's been somebody there before you to get those relics.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? If you have time, talk about digging old house sites in Western VA. You ever dug out west outside of Culpeper?
I haven't. No, I haven't. But I mean, if I was going, I'd take what you got. Is
Yeah.
my advice. I mean, if I've got somewhere to hunt, I would hunt it, and I would hunt it in every aspect that I could. I would hunt it obviously for relics, and I would hunt it for any other artifacts that piece of land might give, whether it be bottles or Indian artifacts or whatever it's willing to give up. I think sometimes people go into a site and they've got one thing in mind when there's a lot of relics that can come off or artifacts that can come off of one piece of land.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's not limited to just metal objects or just, ceramic or bottles or history stuff like that. So yeah, do you so it says, yeah, somebody being there already has become a real issue. Spread the word and every Joe's in the water now. Well, I think that's kind of the deal,
No, I don't agree with that, and I don't. I mean, we're not the only ones that have spread the word. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are going to find out that there's a lot of people getting into it, and I think there's going to be a lot of people getting out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's not as easy as we make it look.
Yeah.
Water hunting is hard.
I completely agree. I mean, if you don't have the guts to stick it out for 2-3 summers, exactly what History Resurfaced is talking about. You can have the best location in the world, but if the bottom doesn't make a difference, you're going to get so frustrated that these guys go out and think that, hey, we found some cool stuff. It's not that easy. When you dig 30 aluminum cans in one spot, or how many fishing sinkers?
Over 250 in one spot.
Yeah. So that's something completely different. But so maybe I'll transition a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Virginia Diggers. What was what made you come up with that? What was your thoughts?
Well, you mean you've always had sites on the internet, and before Virginia Diggers was around, there were other relic hunting sites. There were sites for bottle collectors. There were sites for people who find Indian artifacts, fossil hunters. You had all these individual sites. Well, a lot of us have interest in all of it. So I wanted a place where everybody could come and you could share it all. Because when we all want to see it all, I mean, I want to see everything that people find, not just relics or bottles or one or the other. I want to see it all. And I wanted a place, because I do go after all of it, to be able to share everything in one site. And that's kind of how it started. It took off in the beginning, and then I kind of let it stagnate. And in the past, I guess, year and a half, I've put a lot of energy into it, and I'm very happy into what it's become.
Yeah, and for those who want to go check it out, it's Virginia Diggers on Facebook. I think the cool part is the diversity. Is you took something exactly what you said before. You'd have to go to 4 different sites and check it off, and we know how many people just add you to a site on Facebook, and you just get overrun. Well, with Virginia Diggers, you can go to one place and see all of it. And I think it's an inclusive group, which is really cool because it includes everybody, whether you dig teeth or bottles. There's an incredible amount of knowledge on that site.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, and that's, I've been, it's different than the other ones out there. It's not just a relic hunting site. I mean, we've seen some really cool stuff, and I think everybody's enjoyed seeing the different stuff, whether it be the pottery and stuff that I've put back together out of Privy's, or that huge megalodon tooth that Kent found in the river last month.
And
I mean, there's been
and
some phenomenal.
huge. I mean that thing was a star of the page for a while. That thing was like
No doubt about it. Over 6 inches.
6 inches. It was huge.
That's right. I mean, we just get to see so many different things, and you've got people on there. I mean, when I first started it, and it's still kind of, the basis of it is what I wanted. I mean, it's called Virginia Diggers, but it does not. We don't limit it to just people who live in Virginia. It wasn't designed for that. It was designed mainly as an East Coast diggers place for everyone to get together and share what they find. And I think that's what it's become.
Yeah. So, and you just had a pretty incredible contest. I mean, you could talk about that. I mean,
yeah, no, and it was an incredible contest. People get added to a site, and Virginia Diggers is site, and Virginia Diggers is no different. I think that we've got some people on there and that aren't diggers. Do I mind that? Not in the least bit, because I want to promote what we do, and I want to share what we find. And I think there's a lot of people that are on there that are interested in it, obviously, because people who get added, they don't leave. So they at least find it interesting. For that reason, I don't mind having them on there. But the contest was for the people who are diggers. So in order to weed that out, I asked for everyone to comment on what was it, Matt? Their favorite relic hunting experience?
I think it was something like that. But there were some
Yeah.
incredible stories. And I mean, do you have one that stands out for you?
I've got a bunch, Matt, and I can't even remember, to be honest with you, which one I listed for the. I didn't get to do one because we ran it. But as far as my favorite one, and I don't know, probably digging those colonial pits in Philadelphia was probably my favorite digging experience. So, I mean, to dig a mallet for the first time is something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, and as far as with the contest, one of my favorite stories is what Aggie Hall posted on the contest about her receiving this gift from someone who had pulled it into just a post that she had said about a bracelet that they found and their generosity. And I thought that was cool because it wasn't necessarily about something that she found, but something certainly she would cherish. And I think that's what we all kind of do. And I thought the stories brought it together because most of the stories that I read weren't about the objects. They were about the experiences.
No, you're right. And they were great. I mean, it was more than I had anticipated. I got a lot out of that. I mean, and I think that a lot of people did. I mean, they thoroughly enjoyed the stories. So I did it just to kind of weed people out, but got a lot more in return than what I had anticipated.
Well, I mean, even for that, I mean, so how many folks are on Virginia Diggers right now?
Well over 1,000. I think it's like 1,000, probably 30 or 40 over 1,000.
Yeah, yeah. So you're over 1,000, but you had a tremendous amount of response, and I think that part of it is because it is such an active group. You know, on a lot of the other sites that I've seen, is you get 5 to 10% of activity. I would guess for certain times there's as much as 50% of the folks are on there, you know, or commenting or liking or sharing. A lot of people may not be actively posting stuff, but they're engaging.
Oh yeah, no, it is, and I mean, and I've noticed that too. Looking at other sites, I mean, we've done a lot, and we try to keep it engaging. I mean, the we're on our second round now of the alphabet contest, and you know that's been great. There's some amazing stuff that has been posted as we went through different letters of the alphabet, and I've had a lot of fun with that.
And so maybe you can explain to everybody out there what the alphabet kind of thing is.
Yeah, well, we did it before the first go around. We did a letter a day, and you posted, you know, A is for, and let's just say you wanted to, whatever you could think of that you had to post. So it could be an artillery shell, it could be anything that started with an A that was in your collection, and we stretched it. I mean, A could be for this awesome button that I found, and it went on, and there was just some incredible stuff. So I had so much fun with that we decided to do it a letter of the week, and we've been doing that now for a long time. I mean, we've made it all the way to we're on O now. So
Which is
and the first time for me,
which is
and the first time for amazing you know, stuff posted, and this go around we've seen some incredible stuff too.
and that's the other part is that the thing a week is Mike says A is for Arkansas buttons. Thanks, Mike. Um,
Yeah.
but the an object a week is cool, or you know, a letter a week is cool because it gives you time to go home and you know if you're out and about doing something that day and take a picture within a couple days and post it up. Um,
Not only that, but you would think about something that you wanted to post as A, but A had already passed.
that's
So
right.
now you've got a week to you know to see what pops up and post different things. And I know that it's some of the letters are tough.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Finding
you know,
something for a Q or you know a Z. A Z is difficult, but there was some incredible stuff posted for Z.
there was, I think X was a tough one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and we're about to get to the all those all over again. So we'll see what people can come up with this time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, if you guys see any questions or anything in there, anything you guys want to ask, let me know. Earl from VA asked Native American artifacts. You ever solely go out and hunt for just them, or
I used to a lot, Earl. Yeah, I have my stepfather is a full blood Native American Mattapanai, and you know back when they used to plow fields, I did it all the time and loved to do it and would do it again. Now it's just it's hard to find them in my area anymore. They don't plow fields; everything's always covered in crop. So you just can't find them like you used to around my area. I had a big collection and ended up the Mattapanai did not have a whole lot for their museum, and I donated everything that I've found to them.
oh wow, that's incredible. I
Yep.
mean, did they have it displayed out anywhere?
I don't know if they do anymore, Matt. They used to at their little museum. This is the Upper Mattapanai tribe, which was inside of their original school, which was the Sharon School
Mm-hmm.
on 60, just up from Central Garage. They had some stuff in there. Whether they still have it or not in there, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I would rather those artifacts go to them. Even
Yeah,
if my
absolutely.
stepfather keeps it, I'd rather him have it because it's I appreciate the stuff, but I can't appreciate it like he does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that connection is pretty incredible. The but yeah, man, it's I I think it's pretty cool, man, with the knowledge of colonial stuff that you have to the relic hunt. I think that it for anybody out there to make a site like Virginia Diggers, you were the dude to do it. And I'm glad it's done so well. I think it's really
Thank
cool.
you.
Um, so yeah, it's Colonial Fiend said he'd rather dig colonial pits than ever have to run his detector. Well, that's because his detector is floating now. So that's a dig. That's only a dig because Colonial Fiend won two giveaways in a row. So, um, but yeah. So on another thing, we're having a meetup come up, right?
That's right. In October, and I think that's going to be a good time. I mean, there's a lot of people that I've met through Virginia Diggers, and I feel like we've become friends through Virginia Diggers, but yet I've never had the privilege of meeting them. So I look forward to shaking a lot of hands that day and meeting up with a lot of these people that I communicate with on a and share stuff with, and vice versa on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if you guys are interested, if you guys are interested, go over and check out Virginia Diggers on Facebook. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of there's a lot of cool stuff on there, man. It's a really
One
neat
thing I
place.
forgot to mention, Matt, back to that contest, the prizes that Cole Harbor donated for that was something that I did not ask for. I did not expect, but it blew me away. That was a tremendous donation that Jerry gave out of the goodness of his heart. So I hope that people will remember that when it comes time to upgrade or buy something, because that was something that I did not ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool. Jerry from Cold Harbor Metal Detectors in Mechanicsville, Virginia, supports Virginia Diggers, and I mean, obviously, you guys know he supports this channel as well. But he gave away a great metal detector, some great accessories. I mean, just kind of really expanded the prize pool for everybody a chance to win. Um, so, yeah, and you donated a lot of your collection.
I did. Yeah, and that's all I was planning on doing. To be honest with you, the first go around, I donated an early 18th century vial that Ross won, that is still sitting on my shelf at home. But uh,
Maybe he'll get it at a Diggin
I
in Virginia.
eventually, uh, but this I was going to do the same thing then the next go around and give away an onion bottle, which I had planned on doing that for a long time, and Jerry added to it, which made it a heck of a prize pool.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, well, cool, man. I don't want to keep you on here too much longer. I mean, I don't know if you had anything else you want to talk about, or if anybody else had anything they wanted to throw in the chat. Um,
No, I mean, just for y'all that are a part of the group, I thank you. It's y'all's group. I just moderate it. I just keep it running and try to keep the drama out of it. But it's y'all's group. So if there's anything that y'all want to see or anything that y'all would like for me to do, I'll consider anything as long as it's within reason. And I hope that it continues to grow.
yeah, I mean, it's going to do nothing but grow. I think it's a really neat place to go share knowledge and absolutely we're going to meet some new friends in October, and that our friends we already had, we just didn't get to put a face to it.
That's
Um,
right.
so it should be really awesome, man. I would like to thank you for coming on a Wednesday night. It's a little unorthodox for a live stream, but man, it's been a great evening, and thanks for coming on and sharing some of your stories, man.
Yep. Thanks, Matt.
So,
Enjoyed it.
all right, we'll see you soon, Bruce. So I just want to thank everybody for coming on a Wednesday night. It was a lot of fun. Bruce is a great dude, really knowledgeable about relics. You certainly can throw him up a question on the site Virginia Diggers on Facebook. You can look him up on there. Stop in, chat with him at DIV or any of the other organized hunts here in Central Virginia, or who knows, maybe in some Privy in a city somewhere. So next week, I heard some questions about some arrowhead hunting, and I am super psyched next week to have Spike and Kenneth from Heartbreaker Relics on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have ever checked their channel out, but my God, they dig some incredible Native American artifacts. They're both lively, fun guys, and it should be an incredible show. I don't know if we're going to be tonight's show or last week's, but it's going to be awesome. I'd like to thank each and everybody from coming out and hanging out with me this evening. I hope everybody has a great weekend and gets to go out there and dig up some history. As always, thanks for watching Gone Diggin'. I'll see you guys on the next live stream with Heartbreaker Relics on Tuesday night. So we'll see you then.